Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. Having some coffee here this morning, and I had a opportunity to have a little downtime last night after I made supper and stuff in the evening and in nighttime hours, and I had a chance to go through and look at some of the things that are taking place in the aftermath of that hurricane, especially in places like East Tennessee and North Carolina. And, being in the preparedness game for as long as I have been already, there were some stark things that I read in those news reports of things that are going on down there that could have been some of the things that could have been prevented by just some basic preparedness on the individual level. Now, you're never going to be able to prepare for everything, and you're never going to be able to escape everything that has happened. Here, I had a brand new roof damaged, several weeks back by basically 60, 65 mile an hour wind gusts. And that's just the way that it goes. And but other than that, we were unscathed, so I'm very thankful for that. But the first thing that stuck out in those reports that I read was the curtailment of movement. And I've said this many times in different videos that I have done. If there is some type of large regional or nationwide SHTF event, the ability to move around is going to be curtailed. And there in North Carolina especially, basically all the roads are washed out because of the flooding, mudslides, that kind of stuff. So it was a physical, natural disaster that caused that. But those curtailments of movement can happen because of natural things. They can happen because of civil unrest. They can happen because of global conflict. Take your pick. That ability to just move around, Americans in particular take that for granted, that you could just jump in your vehicle and you can go whenever, wherever. And that is one of the first things that goes away if there's some type of disasters, that ability to move around. And so then you got to look at, okay, what can I do, at my place here if I'm not I can't move around. And then I read some other reports where they tried to leave, they couldn't leave, and then they went back to where they were at, their house or their apartment, and they only had a little bit of food and water. Well, then that's your next thing. I try to put more of an emphasis on non-perishable stuff. And, for us, that means canning. Home canning is a large portion of our preps, of our preparedness, because that's what the old timers did. We put up stuff when it was in season, the old saying, you make hay when the sun's shining. So we would put stuff up in season, so we have it in the off season. Well, and that just kind of goes into general preparedness now. If you don't can or whatever, have stuff that's shelf stable. And nowadays we have freeze dried stuff too, but then you have to keep in mind you got to have a water source for that stuff. A lot of the stuff that people tell you to put up is going to need water. Well, that's another thing with home canned stuff. You have liquid in the can, and you can use that liquid to make soups or stews, so there's a couple added benefits, I think, to home canned items. There's a couple drawbacks too. It's not as compact, it's not as light as well, but we have freezers and stuff here too, but I try to always put an emphasis on stuff that is shelf stable. So then that goes back to, you can't move around, you can't go to the store, you can't get stuff, something's happened, no supplies are coming into the area. And that Asheville, North Carolina, that's a big town. I read reports anywhere between the population's basically between 90 and 100,000 people. And then it's a big tourist destination, and there's a lot of business meetings and stuff that happen there too. So then you figure in the tourists that were in the area, the people that were there on business. Then you figure the outlying areas into that community. That's a big town. And again, another thing that I seen, the big .gov isn't really the ones that are responding to that. It's your local communities. Pretty much everything I read was either, the local town, the local community, the state government, the sheriff's office, the local first responders are the ones that are trying to take care of and manage that disaster. And there's something to be said about that too. Local people are going to take care of those local and regional problems. Don't expect any help from, big government, basically. Because in most cases, especially in the last 20 years of stuff that I've read where I've really followed this stuff, it's your local authorities that are going to, try to put the pieces back together after these events happen. And that's both with, civil disruptions and natural disruptions like what this hurricane is. And, water, that was another thing, water and power and communications. The authorities now are telling people, because all these water plants are offline up there, to boil water, but then nobody has electricity. So then one of the first things is do you have the ability to boil water with what you have at your home for an extended period of time? Let's say a month. Would you have enough, little canisters of gas or enough firewood and stuff to boil your water if that would happen? Communications is another one. There is no communications. So having some type of communication plan that doesn't rely on the networks and the systems is going to be paramount. And then that's what gets into the whole ham radios and that kind of stuff. And I don't know a lot about that stuff, but that stuff requires a certain amount of infrastructure too, like repeaters and whatnot. So that the communication, having a hot internet feed, and having cell phone service and stuff, that's all regional. So anything goes down in your area, communication is going to be cut off. Communications and electricity are going to be big things that go first, pretty much. And when it comes to electricity, for us here, we live in a cold climate. So a certain amount of electricity is needed, to run furnaces, to do different things, have lights on, because of course we're up north here. So in another month or so, at 5:30, it's going to be dark. It's not going to get daylight till 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's a large, 15-hour period where it's dark outside. And if you don't have some type of light, you're not going to get anything done in those situations. So that's something else that needs to be kept in mind. But you got to have a plan to either filter or disinfect your water. It's nice if you got some type of generator where you can do small things like charge small appliances, or small stuff like battery operated chainsaws and stuff now are extremely popular. Have stuff to charge that stuff, keep that stuff running, keep your basic, functions running. I seen another article where people were, donating their time that did have electricity to wash clothes for like the linemen and stuff that were going down there to try to repair the infrastructure. And, if you would have a working generator in some type of situation like that, you might be able to run your wash machine and, participate in that, community restoration efforts, even on a small level, because big things happen when average people do small things for others. And I've seen that here in my local community when there's been different power outages, snowstorms, and that kind of stuff. Everybody kind of tries to do their part to help out the community at general. And another thing that I'm going to mention too, that longshoreman strike seems to be looking like that might take place. And I wanted to mention this just because most of what I have heard on the news and on prepping channels that have talked about this is, no supplies are going to be coming in. Nothing's going to be getting offloaded off the boat. Supplies are going to trickle to a stop, parts, pharmaceuticals, in some cases food. But there's another side to that, and that is the stuff that we produce here in the United States can't get out. So now that has the potential to do two different things, not just one. It's going to cause scarcity with parts and, things we're used to seeing on the store shelves and the things that we use. But then it also has an economic negative effect of, we can't get our stuff out. So if we can't get our stuff out, the people that produce that stuff, farmers, manufacturing that are manufacturing stuff to ship overseas, they're not going to be able to ship their stuff out. So now the people that work in those industries don't get paid. So now you have a kind of a double whammy of there's an opportunity, or not an opportunity, but a chance that people aren't going to get paid because of this. But then there's also going to be scarcity on the shelves. So now you don't have any money and you don't have any products. So it's really kind of a dire situation. If that situation goes on for a long period of time, I can see where pretty much everything all the way around there's going to be problems. So I wanted to mention that as well, because not a lot of people have been talking about that sort of economic impact of the people not being able to ship their stuff out, not necessarily just stuff coming in and our consumer centric society that we have here in the US. But anyway, just wanted to mention those things here on on a Sunday morning while I'm having my coffee, some things for people to think about. And the time to prepare is now. When the storm is barreling down on you, that is no time to try to get a preparedness plan around. Like I said, you make hay when the sun is shining. So if the sun is shining in your area, prep. Anyway, it's Modern Refugee. I appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got something to think about here on this morning chat that I'm having. But I appreciate all you guys out there. You guys take care.